let's talk about the Michigan offense, which I guess we'll start with this. How much different is it going to look with Alex Orji back there? I think it's going to look kind of like how it did at the end of last week's game when it was mostly run. You know, that 9-play touchdown drive, it's 8 runs, little nifty play action pass, nice and easy to Hogan Hansen. Can you do that for a full game is a big question to me, but what do you guys think this offense is going to look like?
They better employ a lot more read option then and some more, maybe even regular option, things like that if they're going to decide to run that much. Because if they're going to be that predictable, they're not going to move the ball flat out. You've got athletes on the other side of the line that are going to stack the line and force you to throw or force you to do something different. And every time I say that, nothing happens though, right? When I say they need to put Khalil Mullings and Donovan Edwards in the back and in the same backfield and do some things. And with Alex Orji, it just seems to be the same thing. But they're going to have to let him throw a little, fellas. There's just no way around it unless you're going to run the Rich Rodriguez offense and, with Denard Robinson. And you didn't have time to employ that, frankly. So it would have been fun seeing Alex Orji in a Rich Rodriguez offense. Somebody mentioned that today. If we had to go back, I'm not saying going forward, so I don't want any hate mail here. We do not want Rich Rodriguez back here with all due respect. So, but I think that's exactly what it's going to be. And they're going to have him take some deep shots and hopefully he can hit them. So you can't get by with just a running offense in today's college game unless you're a triple option team like Navy or something like that in the past. And it just won't work. So you got to protect the ball. The bigger question that I have, and I wrote in my column today, is what happens if you put up like a goose egg at halftime or something like that and you're not moving the ball and you're down a couple scores? Then do you bring Davis Warren back in the second half? Because they're talking like, hey, it's his turn and let's see what he's got. But you can't afford to throw away this game. And if you have a chance to win it, then you've got to do everything you can to win it. So let's hope that's not the case. I'm hoping that Alex Orji comes out and kills it, takes this thing and is the quarterback for the rest of the year. Am I betting on it? Probably not.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people out there that want to see them basically become what UCF is with Gus Malzahn and the what they do with KJ Jefferson and stuff down there. That's it's not a video game where you can just change the playbook, right? We've talked about that before. So it's going to be about finding what Alex Orji does well within the framework that is Michigan's offense. So yeah, they're going to run the ball a lot. They never have thrown the ball a ton. Certainly USC is going to try and force them to do that if they're going to, if they're going to beat this team. Again, it comes down to when you have those opportunities to throw the football, because USC at this point is going to do everything it can to stop the run, to make Alex Orji beat them with his arm. And we don't know if he's capable of doing that. I mean, we've seen him throw 5-6 passes total in his career to this point. So, from Michigan's side of things, it's going to be preaching ball security, and he's got to hit on those opportunities. You can't not to fixate on it. Last week, you have a deep ball opportunity to Fred Moore. It's kind of a layup for most quarterbacks. That's a play that next week you got to make. And everyone's got to be better there. Like that's on the wide receivers and such too. So I suspect it's going to look different because what Alex Orji does well is different, but anyone who thinks that they're going full service academy and they're just going to throw the ball 3 or 4 times total and they're just going to, triple option and wishbone and all that, I don't see that. I think that those guys are mostly working with the same playbook with some tweaks based on, what they do well. So I don't know that it's going to look a whole heck of a lot different. But then again, I don't know what it's going to look like at all because we've never seen Alex Orji for more than 5, 6, 7 plays at a time. And that's really the most we've seen him play ever at the end of last week's game. So I don't know what it looks like. I know it inherently has to be different. I know what I think can be successful with him back there, but we just don't know until we see it, which I know people are coming here looking for analysis and predictions on what it's going to be. I think to a certain extent, Michigan has no idea what it's going to be, which is kind of frightening, if I'm being honest with you.
I want to say I love this kid, by the way, the way that he handled himself after the spring game and just first class, and the way he handled himself when he lost the job compared to a couple previous quarterbacks who left here in a huff and weren't really supportive of their teammates. I have never seen a kid be so supportive of Davis Warren and the guy that he lost the job to as Alex Orji, and the stuff that he said this summer. And we wrote a column about it saying that I'm just here. And if they want to play me, great. If not, I'm still a Wolverine. I'm going to get my degree here. There is nothing not to love about this kid. I hope he goes out there and absolutely kills it and just takes this thing and doesn't let it go. Now that he's got his opportunity.
Yeah, you feel good about a guy that gets a chance too. The fact that he did handle it well when he didn't get his chance. And like he said in the offseason, I committed to Michigan, to be a Michigan football player, not to be the starting quarterback here. I mean, he knows it's not a guarantee that you're going to get this shot. And really, if the quarterback room was a little bit stronger top to bottom, I don't know that he would have gotten this shot, but it's here for him in a really big game. I thought Sherrone Moore made an interesting comment on Monday night on his radio show, said, we've got this offense built for him. We always had a plan for him, so we're ready to put it on display. A big question throughout the offseason was, can Alex Orji run the entire offense? And they always said yes, but you're not going to run the same offense or call the same plays with Alex Orji as you did with Davis Warren. It would be foolish, and these guys are anything but foolish. So I think that we're going to see kind of what we saw against Arkansas State, except more, and you get more variety in the run game with Alex Orji in there. It's going to be 2nd and 10. That's still potentially a rundown. So you do bring some unpredictability to it in terms of how you're going to run the ball against a USC defense that looks improved, hasn't been totally tested all that much yet. LSU, good opponent. Like you said, Anthony, earlier on, not exactly sure what they are yet, but we know that Danton Lynn, their 34-year-old first-year defensive coordinator, can coach. He took over at UCLA last year as the coordinator. They were 87th in total defense in 2022. The year before he arrived, they were 10th last year in total defense. Watched both their games so far against LSU and then Utah State. It looks very similar to what Michigan runs, and for good reason. He was with the Baltimore Ravens in 2021 and 2022, worked with Wink Martindale there in 21 for that one season. So this defensive system has become kind of all the rage in both college football and in the NFL, and two teams will be running a pretty similar system. It's still relatively unproven. I mean, watching Utah State, as Anthony would say, complete traffic cones out there. I mean, they are terrible. They lose 48-0. It was, USC dropped multiple touchdown catches, still were able to win handily. They turned it over once, still just nothing phased this team against traffic cones that were Utah State, especially Utah State's defense. But your guys' thoughts on this USC defense that they had to improve. They've looked better tackling, which is, really the biggest thing, I think.
Yeah.
But now the test is, hey, can you tackle Kalel Mullings over and over? Can you tackle Alex Orji over and over? Can you tackle and guard Colston Loveland over and over if he plays too? So this is probably the biggest test in that regard in a physical game, Big Ten type of game.
Is it? I don't know. Is the Michigan's offense better than LSU's? I don't know. And that's the thing. Is this really the biggest test for them? We're going to find out. This is where we find out more, I think, about Michigan and its offense. I think we're going to find out more about USC's defense in other games, sadly, because this Michigan offense is just is painful to watch at times, guys. And you hate to say it, but it really is. Just to get one thing to work, right? And when it's not Kalel Mullings breaking tackles, and he had a couple runs, guys, on Saturday that if it were Donovan Edwards, I think they would have been like 5 or 6 yard gains. And that's just the fact of the matter. So I want to see more Kalel Mullings. I want to see how USC does. If Michigan handles its assignments up front, I think this is a good physical, potentially good physical offensive line, at least on paper. And they pushed some people around in the first game. We watched it. I know that you saw it too, Clay. They got some movement up front, but when they're thinking too much, and my podcast partner, Doug Skeen, said the same thing, man, when you're out there thinking too much, it looks like you're playing slow and it looks like you're going to get knocked back off the ball at times. So, but yeah, this is a physical challenge for USC. They are much better coached. Let's see what the OG does too here, Wink Martindale. We'll come back to that obviously in a minute, but I am just fascinated to see how Michigan's going to attack it, what kind of a plan they have. So, and, are they going to run the ball? I want to see a lot of Kalel Mullings, guys. I had him as my player of the game last week offensively, and I'm going to do it again this week, and they damn well better give him the ball.
It's going to be interesting. Something I was planning on doing that will happen after we record this pod is I want to go back and watch some of these Utah USC games from the last few years, because you look for programs out west that kind of mirror what Michigan football is, and at least from a physicality, from a mentality standpoint, I think Utah has kind of been the closest thing to that out west, and they've found ways to bully this USC team. Now again, USC isn't tackling like a MAC level school anymore. I think they physically, just based on what I've seen, look much more the part. So, if Michigan can play fast, and we've heard, Skeen is correct. We've heard players themselves say that. I've heard Miles Hinton say it, heard Giovanni El-Hadi say it. These guys are thinking too much. And I think when there is some of that instability up front where you're still kind of maybe trying to figure out what your best five is, you overcompensate. And when you press, you make mistakes. And I think a lot of what Michigan's issues have been that guys pressing, guys trying to overcompensate, especially up front. So if they can find a way to just get out there, play football, play the brand of football they've been known for the last few years, Alex Orji or Davis Warren or anyone back there at quarterback, if this offensive line brings the goods, Michigan's going to be able to run the ball and find ways to dictate how this game goes. So, from there, that's kind of, we look for known commodities or something that Michigan can hang its hat on heading into this game. I would like to see Greg Crippen get a start at center. I think his highs to me have been higher than Dom Jadice's, even if, maybe, they see it. Jadice is maybe a little more even. I think Greg Crippen needs to play. And I think the fact that Evan Link is still out there at right tackle, I think that's a move that they're going to stick with. There hasn't been any rotation there. So it's a big week for those guys. Big week for that, really, from the center on out to right tackle. I think any scenario where Michigan wins this game, those guys have to play really well. And we're seeing bits and pieces of it. Last week I thought was the closest yet we've seen to them kind of finding that form. But now you got to find it against a team that, not quite as good as Texas up front, but certainly improved from what they have been. So to me, it all starts in the trenches. It's basic, but for Michigan, I think that's stop thinking and just play football. And that's maybe the message for everyone this week.
Yeah, and go back to the Notre Dame game last year, too, against USC. They absolutely bullied them. It was comical to watch, honestly. Caleb Williams, how many picks did he throw? 3, 4, 5? And he was running for his life. So USC has some big games coming up where they're going to have to prove that they can play with the physicality of the Big Ten. And you mentioned it, too. Utah's been a team that has been a kind of a thorn in their side, and now not in the same conference. But that will be really interesting to watch.